It's time to live your stronger life. Hey, I'm Sammy, physio coach and nutritionist, and your hype girl for creating your stronger life. Here, we ditch the quick fixes and build real strength inside and out. So whether you're here to tone up, drop the body fat, build muscle, mental resilience, or ditch the diet culture, or just feel bloody good in your skin, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Everyone's talking about it. Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, the jab, GLP-1s, the pen, whatever you want to call it. And look, I promise you right now, I'm not telling you to use them, don't use them, they're not right, they're not wrong. I'm never going to shame anyone for using them, and you know what, I'm not going to act like they don't work, because the research shows that they do work very effectively. People are losing significant amounts of weight on these medications, and they can be life-changing for many people. But here's what nobody's talking about, and here's why your doctor is letting you down. They are just giving you the medications and saying, see you later, good luck, and they are missing some really fundamental baseline habits that are going to affect the kind of weight that you're losing and what happens when you stop these medications as well. Because those two questions, they change everything. Because it does not matter if your goal is weight loss and you're going to use the medication or you're not going to use the medication. If you're thinking about it or you have absolutely no interest in them at all, the way that you lose the weight does not change. You need to have these baseline healthy habits in place. The medication is not a magic pill that's just going to get the job done for you. You still have to do the same amount of work as anyone who's not using the medication. All it's doing is it's giving you a little bit of a kickstarter and a little bit of a helping hand in some certain circumstances. For certain people, it works really effectively, but you still need to be lifting heavy weights to protect your muscles. You still need to be eating enough protein. You still need to not starve yourself silly and actually have enough calories. I have heard stories of people on these medications who forget to eat all day and get incredibly lightheaded and incredibly dizzy and almost have car crashes because they can't focus anymore. That is absolutely ridiculous. People who are fainting when they go into a workout because they forgot to eat all day because their appetite is so low. Absolutely ridiculous. So if you do not build healthy habits and actually understand how to fuel your body properly, even with these medications on board, and then how to have these healthy habits that you can maintain after you have those medications, then then I really do not think you should be using the medications, because you have to be prepared to do the work, and that these are not a one-stop quick fix pill. They are not going to do the work for you, and they are not going to maintain the results for you. You still have to be prepared to lift weights, eat decent food, go for walks, drink water, go to sleep, have your healthy habits, and let go of the habits that are no longer serving you. So whilst I am starting this whole conversation with saying that weight loss medications are absolutely fine to use, they can be really fabulous for the right person, you just cannot neglect the healthy habits that you have to put in place if you actually want successful weight loss. But before I go down that rabbit hole any further, what are these drugs? Why does everyone have an opinion? Let's do a little quick primer, because I know not everyone is across all of this. So GLP-1 receptor agonist, that's the drug class. Semaglutide is the active ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy. Tirzepatide is what's in Mounjaro, and they're originally developed for type 2 diabetes. They've become massive in the weight loss world because they genuinely suppress appetite, and they do other things under the hood, and they help people lose weight. And it's not a small amount of weight. We're talking 15 to 20% of body weight in clinical trials, and that is a significant amount. So I can get why people are interested, because here's the thing. Weight loss and fat loss are not the same thing. And there's something that I have talked about on this podcast before, but it is even more relevant than ever when it comes to these medications. Because when you lose weight through any method, any restrictive method, including these drugs, but you can do it through any other method as well, you don't lose purely fat. You lose a mix of fat and water and muscle. But the question is, what is the ratio? How much body fat are you losing versus how much muscle mass are you losing? And when you are relying solely on these medications without doing any of the healthy habits that I ranted on about at the start of this podcast, then this is where things get interesting and you need to know about before you consider taking these medications. So here's the muscle problem. There was a network meta-analysis. Now I will have all of the links to the references of studies that I am talking about in the show notes. But basically, it's an overview of multiple studies, is a meta-analysis, and it looked at 22 randomized controlled trials covering over 2,200 people. And what they found was that across the GLP-1 drugs, around 25% of the weight lost was lean mass. Now, this isn't all muscle. It does include everything but fat. So there is other things that you're losing, but lean mass is a big part of it, is your muscle. So that means 1 in 4 kilos that you lost was muscle. Now, some muscle loss during a calorie deficit is normal and it is expected, even if you don't even do an extreme deficit. Like, it is just a part of it, is what it is. But it's not unique to these drugs. But 25% is on the higher end. And the research noticed that liraglutide, I apologize if I pronounce these wrong, was the worst offender. Semaglutide was in the middle, and tirzepatide actually performed better at preserving lean mass compared to the others. So the type of medication that you choose also can potentially play a role. But even the best performing drug in the group still resulted in meaningful muscle loss when it was used without doing resistance training. And so here's why that matters so much. Muscle is not just about how you look. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. It burns energy at rest. It keeps your metabolism a little bit higher. Yes, it's not a huge amount, but it still contributes. It gives you shape and definition. And when people say that they want to look toned, you got to have muscle to look toned. And for women specifically, as we age, especially through menopause, muscle mass becomes critical for bone density, for metabolic health, for quality of life, for being a functional, strong human being through your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Do you like getting up off the ground easily? Do you like picking up your kids? Do you like walking upstairs easily? If you do, you're going to care about your muscle mass. If you lose muscle in a rush now, it takes years to build it back. And if you're older, that is even harder. And losing dangerously levels of your muscle mass is called sarcopenia. And there are evidence of obese sarcopenia existing, where people who are so overweight, losing the weight, they actually lose a stack of muscle, and therefore they actually have sarcopenia even though they aren't an underweight human being. Because often when you think of sarcopenia, you think of someone who is underweight and like really tiny, but actually there are people who are obese with sarcopenia having really, really low muscle mass and very high body fat percentage. So if you are not lifting weights while you are on a weight loss journey, that is potentially going to be you. So when I say muscle is a big problem, I really mean it. And then what happens when people stop taking the medication? And this is another part that doesn't get talked about enough. Most people who go on these drugs lose weight, great, but what happens when you come off it? So in another meta-analysis, which again is a study of a stack of studies put together, so it just has a lot more strength in the quality of the study, published in late 2025, it looked at 18 randomized controlled trials. Now, randomized controlled trials, I should have mentioned earlier, they are like the highest quality standard. Actually, meta-analyses are the gold standard. Randomized control trials are the next level gold standard of study trials, type of studies that research can do. So they are going to have much better quality research that is coming out. Of course, they're not always going to be perfect, but much more higher quality, much more trustworthy studies than other forms of study methodologies that you will see out there. And why can you trust me when I say that? Because I am hopefully finishing my PhD this year. So I have been learning how to be a researcher all for the last 6 years now. So anyways, I digress. Looking at this meta-analysis, it found that after stopping GLP-1 medications, people regained an average of 5 to 6 kilos. One trial using semaglutide found that over 40% of the weight lost came back within 6 months of stopping. 28 weeks to be specific, but 6 months of stopping. Another study, which looked at tirzepatide, found that when people stopped the drug, over 14% of their body weight came back within a year, and only 16% of people who stopped managed to maintain most of their weight loss without the drug. So most people, 83%, regained a significant chunk of what they had lost. And why does that happen? It's because the drugs, while they're in your system, they work. They suppress your appetite. They affect how your body regulates your hunger hormones. When you remove the drug, those effects go. Remember how I kept ranting on about you have to have those healthy habits in place? This is why. And if you've lost a significant amount of muscle mass while you're on it, now your metabolism is now lower than it was before as well. You have less muscle, which means you're burning less energy at rest and your appetite is back. Therefore, it is a perfect storm of weight regain. Which brings me to the most important part of the conversation. How do you avoid all of this shitstorm that's going to happen if you do not prepare yourself properly? Now, there actually has been a case series study published out of Texas. Now, case series now is not as high quality as gold standard. There was a limited number of participants in this, and there's not a control and a case to be comparing it to. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's almost like saying this is anecdotal evidence. It's not, because it's still under research studies, but in comparison to RCT, it isn't as high quality, but it is still the best real world illustration I've seen of this whole argument, right? So 3 patients were on GLP-1 medications, on semaglutide or tirzepatide, and they did things differently. They did things right. They did resistance training for either 4 to 7 days a week. 7's a bit crazy. 3 to 5 of those sessions were focused on resistance training. They ate high protein, between 1.6 and 2.3 grams of protein per kilogram of their lean body mass. And this is important. It was not a low protein diet. They intentionally ate high protein to protect their muscle. So here's what's happened. One patient lost 33% of their body weight, and of that, 53% was pure fat mass. Lean tissue loss was only 6.9%, which is well below the 25% average that I mentioned earlier. Patient 2 lost nearly 27% of their body weight, and they gained 2.5% of lean tissue while losing 61% of their fat mass. And then patient 3 lost 13% of their body weight, and they gained 5.8% lean tissue. That is wild, that they gained muscle whilst they were dropping body fat. Lost nearly 47% of their fat mass. These are 3 people who, by following the principles of strength training consistently and eating a high protein diet, essentially flipped the script on all of the negative things that I talked about earlier. So instead of losing a quarter of their weight as muscle, they preserved it, and in 2 of them, they built it. Now, that's only a case of 3, so there obviously needs to be a lot more research that goes down to give you really good stats of what's actually going to happen. But this is, a very, very good example and a really good reason for why you need to be focusing on your protein, focusing on your healthy habits, focusing on lifting weights, especially on these medications. So let me break down the protein side of this, because I know this trips up a lot of ladies especially. So in this particular case series that I mentioned, they did 1.6 to 2.3 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. And if you've been listening to my podcast for a while now, that will align pretty close to what I've recommended for my clients. I think most women realistically can work on a target of around 120, 130 to 150, 160 grams of protein per day. It does depend on your size and your goals and your age. Your age is a really big one. If you are, the older you are, especially over 40, your protein requirements are going to have to get higher and higher. So if you're on the younger side and your calorie deficit isn't too significant, then maybe you could go 130. If you are bigger, you have more muscle, you train a lot more, or if you're older, or if your calorie deficit is quite hectic, you might want to go, 140, 50 up to 160 grams per day. You definitely don't need 200 grams per day, but it's still a significant amount. And most ladies I speak to for the first time are getting, 60 to 80 grams a day, if that. They're like, I just sprinkle a bit of protein here and a bit of protein there, or they get protein in one meal in their day. So if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, but I eat pretty well, I want you to actually weigh and track your food for a couple of days just to see what you're actually hitting. Because I guarantee most of you are a lot under, and it's not through laziness or you just aren't eating right. It's just because no one told you and you just didn't know. This is why it's really beneficial to weigh your food and track your food for a period of time to actually understand what you are eating. And this is why protein is so important. So when you're in a calorie deficit, your body is looking for fuel. If your protein is low and you're not doing resistance training, muscle tissue is just hanging around being a viable target for fuel, because your body's like, we're not using it. We might as well burn it up for some more energy. So your body starts breaking down muscle to use for that energy, and that's how you're going to lose the muscle mass. But protein, when you eat protein, provides the building blocks. They're amino acids to help maintain and build muscle tissue. It signals muscle protein synthesis when combined with resistance training. Protein also has the highest thermic effect of any macronutrient, meaning that your body burns a little bit more calories just by processing it. And it's also one of the most filling, the most satiating macronutrients. So a high protein diet does also reduce hunger, which, I mean, if you're taking medications, you're not really worried about that too much, but it also can help you to stabilize your energy and your cravings throughout the day. So it's doing a bloody good job, but it isn't as effective. You can eat all the protein in the world, but if you are not resistance training, then the protein also doesn't really know what it's doing. It's kind of like protein is the building bricks, but resistance training is the blueprint. It doesn't know what to build if you don't give it a blueprint to follow. Otherwise, you're just going to get a weird old mess, right? Okay, but now you're about to say, but how do I hit my protein without blowing out on my calories? Well, this is what I call protein efficiency, and we did a whole episode on this, episode 21, I believe, if you want to go deeper. But in short, anchor your meals with protein first, not as a side thought. Make it the centerpiece. Choose lean sources like chicken breast, white fish, prawns, egg whites, high protein yogurts, cottage cheese, protein powder, extra lean beef mince. These give you the most protein for the fewest calories. Spread it across 3 to 4 meals, because you can have it all in one go, but it's honestly like, it's not nice. Like you try to eat 130 grams of protein in one sitting. That is not nice. And that isn't 130 grams of chicken weighed out on your plate. That is very different. 130 grams of chicken, like raw, weighed on your plate will give you maybe 45, maybe 50 grams of protein if my math ain't math. And 100 grams is about nearly 30 grams of protein. So my math was not probably mathing very well just then. But anyways, 100 grams of meat on your plate is not 100 grams of protein. So just understand that. So to eat 130 grams of protein in a day, I don't know, that's you'd have to eat a whole 500 gram packet of chicken mince plus some, probably. Again, my math ain't mathing off the top of my head, but you get the vibe. Basically, just aim to have 4 meals a day with 30 grams of protein as a minimum, and that's going to be a pretty damn good starting point. And if you're finding it hard to get there from food alone, have a shake, have a protein shake. Whey protein isolate is the best option if you can have dairy, and if you can't, go soy protein isolate, and otherwise a plant protein combination one that has pea and rice and other combos in it, just so then you get a bit better amino acid profile. They're your 3 best options. Don't go for collagen. It isn't very good for building muscle. It has other purposes, but in regard to building muscle, collagen is a no-go. Okay, so you're having your protein, you got the building bricks there, but without the blueprint, there's no idea what we're building, and that's the lifting piece, and it is a non-negotiable. Whether you're taking a weight loss drug, whether you're in a calorie deficit, whether you're just trying to change how your body looks and feels, whether you are just a human being that lives and breathes, lifting weights is a non-negotiable. If you have bones, you have to lift weights, because you cannot protect your bone density without putting stress through your bones, and the best way to do that is by lifting weights. And you cannot diet your way to a strong, defined physique. You can restrict calories, you can do cardio, you might lose weight on the scale, but without the resistance training and the protein, specifically training that challenges your muscles, gets progressively harder over time, you're just going to be small, floppy, weak, sad, low energy, and just feeling like no good. So that's why when I say toning, is just lifting, building muscle, and then you're dropping the body fat. You can't just drop body fat to look toned. You have to be lifting weights. I repeat, you have to be lifting weights, not Pilates, not little HIIT workouts, not little circuit classes. I want proper heavy lifting weights that you can barely do for 6 to 12 reps. And you barely can do it. Not just feeling the burn. You're literally oh my God, I cannot get this dumbbell above my head for one more repetition. It's going to fall on my head. That is what we want. And the thing is about muscle that most ladies don't appreciate how bloody amazing it is until you've actually built some. Muscle is an engine. It is your metabolism. It is what makes the same amount of food that you eat do more in your body. It lets you eat more. It helps you feel more energetic. It lets you maintain your body composition. It actually looks after your glucose metabolism. It makes your clothes fit better. It makes you be able to run around after your kids. It makes you be able to pick your kids up and throw them around. Bring your groceries in one go. Be able to do independent shit so that you don't have to rely on anyone else to help you out. Every single one of my clients who has really changed the way their body looks and feels, not just lost weight, but actually transformed, has done it by building muscle. And I guarantee you don't have as much muscle as you think you do. If you're like, but I'm a bit bulky, I think I already do. Trust me, you don't. I remember looking back before my comp preps, like in the last couple of years, and I thought genuinely, I had a decent amount of muscle. Yeah, no, I cut down and see what's underneath, and then you can realize how long it actually takes to build a chunky physique. It humbled me. I did not have anywhere near as much muscle as I thought I did. So if you're feeling a bit bulky, it's probably body fat, not muscle. I am so sorry to say. And I'm so digressing from the whole topic of this podcast, but that is fine. The goal here is to build a strong, capable, lean body, and that requires muscle, which requires lifting, which requires progressive overload, training with intent, and giving it actual effort. Not just feeling the burn, but actually pushing close to failure. So if you're training and you're not seeing results, just ask yourself, am I challenging my muscles or am I just going through the motions? There is a big difference. So whether you're on medications or whether you're not on medications, any human being needs that same principle of protein, lifting weights, drink water, drink some fiber, eat your fruit and veggies, go for walks, do all the normal healthy human habits regardless of your choice of medication or not. Those healthy habits don't change. The medication is not a quick fix pill that is going to just fix everything for you. You still have to do the work. All it's doing is just giving you a little helping hand with your appetite. And yes, there's other things going on under the hood that I don't want to go into in this podcast particularly. Okay, I've rambled on and I lost my train of thought and we're coming back. Let's bring it home. Whether you are on GLP-1 medications, have been in the past or are considering it or have zero interest, here's what it all means for you. The research is no reason to stop. If it's working for you under medical supervision, that is fabulous. But there is a very strong argument to add resistance training and prioritize protein not as optional extras, but as non-negotiables. And realistically, your doctor should be recommending that. And if they're not doing their job, in my opinion. They need to do better. The drug might be suppressing your appetite, which means you're eating less, but it makes hitting your nutritional needs a lot harder. So you have to be deliberate about it. Prioritize your protein first, then fill the rest in with your calories later, but do not neglect carbs and fats because they're still very, very, very important. And I would argue that still tracking your food during this time period is incredibly important to make sure you're not lacking important nutrients. Lift heavy 3 to 5 times a week, train close to failure. This is what the research says protects your muscle, and your muscle is what will determine what your body looks like after the weight comes off and whether you can keep that weight off as well. And if you've stopped a GLP-1 and you regain the weight, know that that is not a character flaw. That is literally what the research shows happen to most people when the medication stops, when the doctors don't do their job and help support you to build those healthy habits first. I think that they shouldn't be allowed to prescribe medications without prescribing access to a coach to help support you throughout this journey. So what you need now is the muscle foundation and the habits that are going to make maintenance possible. Lift, protein, consistently, healthy habits. I have rambled on about them about 1,000 times in this episode, so I'm sure you know what they are by now. And if you're not on anything and you just want to change your body, same principles, same answer. Healthy habits, that's what you need. They've always been the same answer. You don't need a drug to get lean, but if you want to do it, go for it. I'm 100% not judging you. It's totally fine. I coach ladies, it's like absolutely no stress at all. But you need to lift, eat protein, be in a moderate deficit, and be consistent over time. That is the absolute key. So here's the thing that I'm going to keep coming back to with all of this. People are looking for a shortcut. I genuinely get it. Fat loss is hard. Like, it sucks. It's not fun. Trust me, I've done it. I've done several years of comp prep. I get it. Fat loss is a long journey and it is annoying. But you can't just not do the actions. There's no magic pill that's going to do the job for you and get you your dream body. You still have to do the actual work. And the research is showing us that. The people who do the best long term, not just on the scale right now, are the ones who build muscle, who eat their protein, who show up consistently to train even when they don't feel like it. They are the ladies that have built healthy habits that last for life. They keep it simple, they keep it realistic, they're not perfect, they focus on progress over perfection, but they still do the healthy habits. The drug, that might change the speed. It might just help you with your appetite and make the deficit a little bit easier, but it cannot build the muscle for you. It cannot do the training. It cannot create the habits and the identity that you need to have to make this sustainable for life. That part is all down to you. And honestly, that is a good thing because nothing good comes easy. The hard work makes it more rewarding because when you earn your results through the work that you do, you know exactly how you got there and you know exactly what to do to maintain them. You're not dependent on medication. You're not starting from scratch every time something changes. You have the skills, the strength, and the knowledge, and that's what we're building here. That, progress over perfection and 1% better every day. All right, that one went a bit wild. I apologize. I went on a few tangents as always, but I do hope this helped, and that is my genuine opinion. I'm not going to judge you either way. I never judge. You got to do some pretty wild shit for me to truly judge you. I'm pretty open book kind of gal, but one thing I will really stand firm on forever is the lifting weights is a non-negotiable for every human being. Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and subscribe. And I'd love if you shared this on your Instagram and tag me Sammy_livestrong. And if you'd like to learn more about my coaching and join the Project Livestrong family, please message me Livestrong on Instagram and I'll see how I can help. I'll see you next time.